She will chase you, not because you asked her to, not because you tried hard, but because you placed something in her mind that she can't get rid of. A small seed of obsession she never agreed to, yet can't ignore. And the strangest part is, she'll feel grateful for it. What I'm about to explain is not taught anywhere. Not in dating books. Not in psychology classes. Not even in those hidden online spaces where men share secrets. This is the one method that works below conscious thinking. A trigger that makes her feel something so deep and so unclear that she believes it came from her own mind. By the time you understand this, you'll know how to start a mental loop that keeps running even when you're gone. Miss even one part, and you'll become just another man she scrolls past and forgets instantly. Here's what no one tells you about female desire. It doesn't react to effort. It doesn't reward being consistent. And it doesn't care about good intentions. Desire reacts to one thing only: the feeling of unfinished emotion. When something feels complete, the mind closes it and moves on. But when something feels unfinished, the mind keeps returning to it again and again, like a song that stops before the last note, like a story that ends halfway through a sentence. This is the Zeigarnik Effect used in attraction. Most men do the opposite. They give too much. They explain too much. They answer every question and close every loop. And by doing that, they make themselves easy to forget. The darkest trick isn't about what you give her. It's about what you almost give, what you suggest, what you allow her to imagine, what you leave just slightly out of reach. You become the feeling she can't complete, the thought she keeps returning to, the presence that stays in her nervous system like an unfinished dream. Now let's go deeper into how obsession is built. There's an idea I call the void transfer. It works on a rule most men never understand because it goes against everything they were taught. The rule is simple. She doesn't fall for who you really are. She falls for who she believes you might be. When you reveal too much, you give her facts. And facts are boring. Facts are limited. They can be judged, compared, and easily understood. But when you leave smart gaps in how you present yourself, something different happens. Her imagination turns on. And whatever she creates in that empty space feels personal. It feels real, because she created it herself. Think about this. Every woman carries a fantasy in her mind, an ideal image of the man who could fully occupy her thoughts. The void transfer works because it lets her place that fantasy onto you, not because you perfectly match it, but because you left enough space for her mind to shape you into that image. This is psychological jujitsu. You are not trying to sell yourself. You are creating a space where she sells you to herself. So, how do you do this? You speak less than she expects. You answer questions with questions. You allow silence to last long enough for her to fill it with her own ideas. You reveal just enough to spark curiosity, but never enough to satisfy it. She asks what you do. You don't give a full explanation. You give a fragment, a small piece, something that opens many new questions without closing any. I solve problems most people ignore. And then you stop. No details. No explanation. Now her mind starts working nonstop, trying to understand what that really means. And here's the truth. Whatever she imagines will always be stronger than anything you could have explained. Imagination has no limits. Words do. Now let's move to the second layer of this method, something I call delayed revelation. Most men make a serious mistake. When they feel attraction, they chase. When they want her, they show it immediately. When they are interested, they make it obvious right away. This is emotional bankruptcy. Every time you show interest before she is invested, you lose leverage. You give her certainty, and certainty kills desire. Desire needs tension. It needs the question, does he want me? It needs uncertainty, the kind that makes her analyze your words, your looks, and even your silence. When you delay revelation, you create emotional debt. Think of it this way. Every interaction where she feels something but doesn't know where she stands adds to her mental and emotional investment. She is spending emotional energy trying to figure you out. And the more she spends, the more she expects something back. That's why when a man pulls away just a little, she often chases harder. Not because he's cruel, but because he understands how attention works. What is given too easily feels cheap. What must be earned feels valuable. So, how do you practice delayed revelation? When she shows interest, don't mirror it. Acknowledge it, but don't increase it. When she compliments you, accept it calmly. No excitement, no extra gratitude. When she tries to move things forward, stay grounded. Don't rush. Let her feel the pause, a small smile, a steady look that says, "I notice what you're doing." Then silence. That space you leave behind becomes powerful, and nature hates empty space. She will try to fill it with effort, curiosity, and pursuit. This is where most men misunderstand. They think this is about playing games or manipulating emotions. That's shallow thinking. This works because it matches deep biological wiring. For thousands of years, women had to choose carefully. Resources were limited. Safety mattered. A wrong decision could mean danger for her and her children. So the female mind developed a filter, a test. That test is simple. Is this man valuable, or is he desperate? When you chase, you fail the test. When you perform for approval, you fail the test. When you try too hard, you fail the test. But when you stay in your own frame, unaffected by her validation, calm under her tests, something shifts. Her instinct says, "This one is different." This isn't manipulation. It's speaking a language her biology already understands. And once you speak it, rejection loses its power. You're not asking to be chosen. You're not seeking permission. You're simply existing as a man who triggers something most men never do. Now let's talk about the third element, the one that separates the memorable from the unforgettable. Emotional anchoring through contrast. The brain doesn't notice things that stay the same. It notices change, contrast, movement. If you're always warm, warmth disappears. If you're always available, availability loses meaning. If you're always predictable, you fade into the background. But when you move between presence and absence, warmth and coolness, intensity and calm, you create emotional markers in her mind, moments she remembers, feels, and can't easily forget. She doesn't remember the men who were always consistent. She remembers the one who made her feel a high, then pulled back, then returned with an intensity she wasn't ready for. This isn't chaos. This is calibration. Here's how it works in real life. In one interaction, you are fully present, strong eye contact, deep conversation. You make her feel truly seen in a way she rarely experiences. She feels the spark, the connection, something real. Then you disappear. Not forever, not in a cruel way, just long enough for her to notice the absence, long enough for her nervous system to feel the contrast. When you come back, you don't apologize. You don't explain. You simply show up again with the same intensity as before. And now, something changes inside her. She felt the high. She felt the drop. Now she's afraid of losing that feeling again. That fear. That's the hook. That's where obsession begins. Because it's not only about what you give. It's about what you take away and what you bring back. This back and forth creates patterns in the brain. Dopamine rises, then falls, then rises again. This is the same loop behind addiction. The same system casinos use. The same mechanism behind compulsive behavior. You're not giving her a drug. You're becoming one. Let me tell you about a man I once observed. We'll call him Marcus. Marcus wasn't the tallest man in the room. He wasn't the richest. He definitely wasn't the loudest. But something strange happened whenever he entered a space. Women noticed him, not instantly, but slowly, like a pull they didn't choose. I watched him once at a gathering. A woman approached him, clearly interested. Most men would have gotten excited, leaned in, tried to keep the conversation alive. Marcus did the opposite. He listened. He spoke very little. He held eye contact that felt almost uncomfortable. Then, right in the middle of the conversation, he excused himself. Not rude, just firm. "I need to talk to someone else. It was nice meeting you." And he walked away. I watched her reaction. First confusion, then something else, curiosity, intrigue. For the rest of the night, her eyes kept drifting toward Marcus, wherever he was. He hadn't complimented her. He hadn't tried to impress her. He hadn't given her any clear sign of interest. And that uncertainty became the loudest thing in the room. Later that night, she approached him again. This time, her posture was different, more open, more invested. She was the one chasing. Marcus never changed. Same calm stillness, same grounded presence, same readiness to walk away at any moment. 3 months later, I saw them together. She was completely devoted. When I asked him about it, he said something I never forgot. "I didn't try to make her like me. I just made it hard for her to forget me." That's void transfer. That's delayed revelation. That's emotional anchoring, working together. Here's what you need to understand. At the deepest level, this isn't about becoming someone new. It's about removing the desperate behaviors society trained into you. From a young age, you were taught to be nice, to share, to explain your feelings, to openly chase what you want. That mindset works for friendships, but it kills attraction. Because attraction is primal. It doesn't care about good intentions. It responds to power dynamics, perceived value, and the quiet signals of a man who doesn't need her to feel whole. Every time you explain yourself, you lose leverage. Every time you justify, you weaken your position. Every time you ask for reassurance, you confirm her subconscious fear that you're not fully solid. But when you hold your frame, when you create controlled uncertainty, when you leave her wanting more than you gave, you activate something ancient, something logic can't shut down. Her body reacts before her mind has time to interfere. That's the darkest part of this. She'll feel it happening. She'll know something is different about you. But she won't be able to stop it. Because by the time her conscious mind catches up, she's already invested. Now, a warning. This only works if you have something most men don't. A real abundance mindset. If you pretend to be detached but secretly crave her approval, she'll sense it. Women are highly sensitive to inconsistency. Their survival once depended on it. This isn't a role you act. It's a state you must live in. You must truly be willing to walk away. You must care more about your purpose than her validation. You must deeply believe that her interest is a bonus, not a need. If you don't have that yet, build it first. Build a mission. Create a life that feels complete even without female attention. Become the kind of man who doesn't need to perform, because his presence already speaks. Only then does this technique work at full strength. Because this isn't about tricking her. It's about becoming the type of man who naturally creates these dynamics. A man whose presence feels different, because it actually is. This is the transformation most men never make. They want the outcome without becoming the man who produces it naturally. Now, let's get practical. The next time an interaction is going well, do this. Leave before you want to. Not suddenly, not rudely, but before the conversation reaches its peak, before you've said everything, before she fully knows where she stands. End the moment while it's still rising. Let her want more. Let that desire stay connected to you as you walk away. When she texts you, don't reply right away. Not as a tactic, but because you're honestly busy with your own life. Your life should be full enough that her message isn't the most important thing in your day. When you do reply, be present, but keep it short. Engage, but don't reveal everything. Leave some questions unanswered. Create the feeling that there's always more beneath the surface, that she's only seeing a small part of who you are. In person, practice being comfortable with silence. Most men rush to fill every pause with nervous words. You won't. Let the silence exist. Let her speak to fill it. And in that quiet space, let your eye contact say what your words don't. She'll feel the difference instantly, because most men leave her nothing to wonder about. You'll leave her everything to wonder about. The psychology behind this is brutally simple. The brain focuses on unfinished things, open loops, unresolved tension. That's why you remember the ex who disappeared more clearly than the one who gave you closure. Why rejection hurts longer than acceptance. Completion brings peace. But peace isn't memorable. What sticks is the almost, the unfinished, the question that never got answered. When you become that question in her mind, you take up space no other man can. She'll think about you at work, with friends, lying in bed at night, trying to understand why you affect her the way you do. And she won't be able to explain it, because this reaction happens below conscious thought, in the part of the brain that existed before language, before logic, before choice. That's the real power of this technique. It bypasses her filters. It speaks directly to something ancient in the feminine mind, something that responds to mystery, strength, and the man who doesn't need her, but could choose her anyway. So here's the truth. This never fails because it isn't really a trick. It's alignment. Alignment with psychology, with evolution, with how desire actually works beneath the stories we tell ourselves. Most dating advice tells you to do more, say more, give more, show more. This is the opposite. Be less available, chase less, give less certainty, show less need. And in the space you create, her imagination will build something far more powerful than anything you could give directly. You won't have to convince her to want you. She'll convince herself. That's the most powerful form of attraction. Not because it's cruel, but because it's real. Now think about this. If you've been doing the opposite, chasing, explaining, trying hard to be chosen, ask yourself honestly, how has that worked so far? And if you're ready to try something different, if you're ready to become the man who creates desire instead of asking for attention, then you already know what to do. You've seen the path. Now you have to walk it. Stop filling every silence. Start leaving her wanting. Stop giving certainty. Start creating mystery. Stop performing. Start embodying. Because the woman you want isn't looking for another man who tries too hard. She's waiting for the one who makes her try. Become that man. And if something shifted inside you while hearing this, if you're starting to see things differently, that's not random. That's the beginning of a change that can completely reshape your experience with women. The men who understand this go deeper. The ones who don't, move on.